I was a god who created Jesus. I have already done 8 times what Christ did. Whoa, this is a rather bold statement, don't you think? Who in their right mind could say that? Well, let's not rush with the right mind. In this story, the sanity is not the main thing. The main thing here is the unique talent of a person who managed to transform himself from a visually impaired disabled guy into a god. And I will tell you how. Meet Andrei Yuryevich Popov, or Jesus, or Virgin Mary, or Archangel Gabriel, John the Baptist and Moses. Actually, he claimed that he is an incarnation of more than 30 different persons, including Shiva, Caesar and Solomon. Quite a motley crew here. And all of them are united inside this young man who was born in 1977 in Dolgoprudny, a city located in the immediate vicinity of Moscow. Kuzya was born in a poor family. His father left them when he was very young. In addition to all the troubles, the boy's vision began to deteriorate rapidly from infancy. An interesting coincidence.
Coincidence? I think not!
Remember the founder of a Japanese sect, Aum Shinrikyo, who organized the Zarin attack on the Tokyo subway? Soko Asahara also was almost blind, but that did not stop him from building a successful career. However, Andrei was really a very smart kid. And how a life of a smart kid in Russia looks like? Well, at the age of 7 he recites Shakespeare by heart, at the age of 12 he's a regional junior champion in chess, and at 16 he graduates from school with a gold medal. Ah, and I forgot a little detail. At 14 he decides that he is a god. Everyone is like that at 14. At the same time, his mother was often beating her son, so Andrei's grandmother took up his education. It was the grandmother who instilled the love for religion and esotericism into her grandson. However, there was another important person in the childhood of our protagonist, his parrot, who died when the boy was 12 years old. Why is he so important? It's simple. His name was Kuzya, and after his death, Andrei named his divine alter ego God Kuzya. The star was born. However, it was still far away from the official appearance of God. The story of God Kuzya in the 90s is full of mysteries. As I said, he began to consider himself a god at the age of 14, but at first he did not dare to reveal the truth to the people. First he graduated from high school and then dropped out of the Moscow State University's Faculty of History. Although, according to other sources, he even graduated from it and received a diploma. It happened in the late 90s, and God Kuzya appeared to the public only in 2007. What was he doing all this time? Apparently he was getting inspiration from the other charlatans who flooded Russia at that time. Georgy Grabovoi, Sergei Torob, Konstantin Vasilyev, Anatoly Kashpirovsky. Kuzya had lots of examples. Moreover, some of these people were even shown on national TV, and the government didn't even bat an eye. According to his personal website, Kuzya is the author of more than 300 books, more than 40 books of poetry, more than 800 songs and thousands of paintings. It is emphasized that Kuzya has a phenomenal memory and attentiveness, a healing gift and the ability to help or kill people from the distance. It is stated that he spent almost his entire life in solitude, and he has a church title, which is not officially recognized. Most likely, only 2 of these statements are true. Of course, he is not recognized by a church, but plot twist, he was. Kuzya really possessed phenomenal attentiveness and memory, and this was what helped him to attract new people to his cult, mostly single women. Now about his church title. At the beginning of his career, he really introduced himself as Bishop Roman, and he even conducted homemade services in the private house equipped for a temple. He also gave lectures in Moscow and the surrounding area, even inside some institutes of Russian Academy of Sciences. Now the church does not like to remember this, but at that time he was quite recognized as a bishop and even participated in several Orthodox exhibitions. But he quickly realized that there wasn't much to be earned as a simple priest, which means that you need to become something bigger. And he became Jesus. So how did he achieve this? Everything is simple. He inspired people to not do things that were unpleasant to them. Don't go to work, don't go to school. get rid of the annoying relatives, avoid mandatory military service, and who needs education anyways. Sounds like a program for some libertarian politician, right? However, politicians usually do not practice whipping for disobedience. Kuzia also imposed fines for defiance, up to 15,000 rubles, about $500 at that time. The enrichment of Kuzia was also facilitated by the official Orthodox Church. In 2007 he gained the trust of some priests of Russian Orthodox Church and received the right to participate in religious exhibitions and other events. Under the pretext of donations for the construction of churches, cult followers raised money from Orthodox Christians. Popov mostly deceived Orthodox priests from different, distant villages. On their behalf, he received permissions to collect donations. Then he usually offered priests about $100 to $200 each, leaving everything else to himself. According to some estimates, a sect received up to $30–40,000 a week this way. How much money did Popov manage to collect? No one knows for sure. During the arrest, police discovered about $1 million in the apartment of the god Kuzia himself, and 2 years later another $6 million in the house of one of his wives. Yes, wives. So how was the sect arranged? Well, just like all the financial pyramids, and just like Aum Sinrikyo that was mentioned earlier. He was at the top, the king, the god, the messiah. His wives were one step below. I mean, just look at this macho. It is immediately clear that one woman is not enough for him. And do not think he was content with some random single women in their 40s or 50s. No, one of his wives was a famous violinist, merited artist of the Russian Federation Anastasia Chebotaryova, winner of numerous international competitions, soloist of the Moscow Philharmonic, who was performing and teaching in Russia, Austria and Japan. Japan once again. It's really suspicious. Ah, such a beautiful couple. However, there were another 5 or 6 wives who periodically changed. On the next circle was a local housekeeper, a woman who was the main assistant of Kuzia but did not deserve the access to the god's body. Then there were enlightened adepts, воскресники, from the word воскресенье, which means resurrection or Sunday, a day of the week. Воскресники led the субботники. Once again a day of the week. Subotniki did all the dirty work at Orthodox exhibitions and were mainly used for fundraising. Finally, 2 bottom circles. Yay, that's us! First, there are those who do not know about Kuzia, but if they knew, they would take Kuzia for a god. And only the 6th circle is worse than us. Those who rejected Kuzia and were anathematized. And do you remember that Kuzia can heal or kill from a distance? Just be careful with your rejections. Kuzia often held meetings that were devoted to the analysis of the private life of his adepts. Such an assembly was called a Vidra, and I actually don't know what it means. Otosa kinda cute, I guess. A member of the sect was obliged to answer all these questions about his intimate, spiritual and professional life, about the financial situation in his family and about his properties. According to the testimonies of the former members, at these meetings Popov forced the followers to divorce their spouses and explain that their relatives were demons. All the people who tried to help those who joined the cult were declared demons. In addition, according to the investigation, the cult practiced physical punishment for disobedience. In the criminal case, it was said that the god Kuzia himself inflicted victims with 100 to 1200 blows with a whip, a rubber slipper, a leather belt or his bare hands. Also, each member of the cult was offered to gift their properties to God or one of his first wives. However, female adepts were allowed to pay in another way. Kuzia was very fond of women, and they considered it an honor to get the opportunity to appease their god. Very different people joined his cult, but Kuzia drove homeless and poor away. According to him, they do not value themselves and therefore do not value their gods. But he loved financiers and accountants. They say that for a period of time an entire analytical department of one of the well-known Moscow banks was in his cult. However, the paradise of the god Kuzia did not last long, only for 7 years. In 2014, police broke into his modest apartment. The apartment was indeed modest, a bed, a chair, a table and dozens of boxes filled with money. Some other possessions were strange. He had an Australian echidna, a crocodile called Tosha, an iguana Gunya, a monitor lizard, an armadillo, about 40 other rare species of animals, and a small collection of child porn. And now the most interesting part. So how many years in prison you get for creating a cult, obtaining millions of dollars, beating and raping your adepts? 5 years, and he was already released in 2019, along with some of his wives. The investigation managed to charge him with only beating and fraud. Moreover, fraud in the amount of about $150,000. All other Kuzya's properties were recognized as legal. Kuzya somehow always managed to come up with perfectly legal gift agreements when he forced his followers to donate him their money and apartments. Just imagine, somewhere God Kuzya and his 3 wives rejoice in freedom, with the riches that remained with them. Remember that one-room apartment in Moscow costs at least $100,000. The charges for creating a cult were dropped from them due to the lapse of time, they served their time in prison for fraud, and no one took their properties from them. The charismatic Kuzya can easily pick up some new followers, so the story is probably not over yet.